Let us all wish the world a happy birthday on his 7,517th year of life. And let us read what Haile Selassie I has to say about the Ethiopian New Year. Ethiopia and the Ethiopian people have passed another year in their successful striving for a better life, and an inventory of the past year makes us confident of continuing achievements in this new year and the years ahead. Haile Selassie I, also known as Sila. So let's read what he said in the beginning. This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him. Male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam in the day when they were created. In other words, Adam means couples. And where were they created? And respecting Zion, it will be said, each and every one was born in her. And the Most High himself will firmly establish her. Jehovah himself, also known as Sila, or in these days, Selassie. So let's watch.
He became regent. He became emperor on November 2nd, 1930, and was crowned Haile Selassie I, King of Kings, King of Zion, conquering lion of the seed of Judah, power of the Trinity.
The Trinity, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And he is the king of Zion. Therefore, the king of Ethiopia is the king of Zion. And what is Zion? Zion is our mother. Ask the earth, and she shall tell thee. For out of her came all at the first, and out of her shall others come. Why? Because that's where life started, in Ethiopia. And when did it start? 7,517 years ago. Because on September 11, 2007, it was exactly 7,500 years. And when did the Ethiopian monarchy start? The Ethiopian monarchy started 1,030 years after God created the world, and it goes back 4,487 years ago. Why? Because they were speaking the oldest language. So the Ge'ez language is believed by scholars, making it the oldest of all languages. It's over 5,000 years old. The Ge'ez language is considered even older than the Hebrew language. Amharic, which came after Ge'ez, is one of the 7 Semitic languages and is considered much older than Hebrew and Arabic. The Indus Valley, which used to be called Ethiopia because India used to be called Eastern Ethiopia, they started approximately 5,500 years ago. The Chinese civilization started approximately 5,000 years ago. Why? Because everything has to be after Ethiopia. For example, it seems that classical historians and geographers call the whole region from India to Egypt, both countries inclusive, by the name of Ethiopia, and in consequence they regarded all the dark-skinned and black peoples who inhabited it as Ethiopians. Why? Because that's where life started. So let's watch.
First thing African people have to know is this, is that the name of our continent was never Africa. The name of our continent was Ethiopia, burnt face, mentioned in Genesis chapter 2. The name Africa comes in the last part of the last millennium when General Africanus, an Italian Roman general, defeated the African army. And it was his privilege and his right to name what he conquered. In Psalm 68, when the Bible says that Ethiopia shall raise forth her hands, God is taking us back to our original mandate of African people and telling us, you have been designated as wealth managers. Africa is the richest continent, and God put Ethiopians.
So let's read part of the Introduction to Christ by Star Witness. Ethiopia celebrated the leap year of 2016 Common Era on Mescaline 1, also known as September 12th, during the summer of 2023, on one of those Roman calendars. History shows that one of them was created in 45 BCE by Julius Caesar. Subsequently, that one was made up approximately 5,455 years after the Ethiopian civilization began. Then Rome again decided to change their calendar. This time it was called the Gregorian calendar in 1582. exactly 442 years ago. But for some strange reason, it is reported that Rome had to correct Ethiopia when it came to accepting a leap year, as if Rome were the one that set the boundaries of time from the beginning, and not Ethiopia itself. But then again, instead of people saying that Rome put a white Jesus in a pagan Horus costume to continue their ancient Egyptian roots of December 25th sun worship, they rather say that Ethiopian Christmas is 13 days late because the Ethiopian Orthodox Church calendar overestimated the length of each year by 11 minutes. Wherefore Pope Gregory III of Rome in 1582 had the audacity to claim that he had corrected Ethiopia's inaccuracy, claiming that Ethiopia has been added 3 days to every 400 years, even though common sense tells us that the Ethiopian calendar has never been changed because the land itself has never been colonized. In plain sight, the Ethiopian original untouched calendar started 4,755 years before Rome ever began. Now notice that the Ethiopian leap year of 2016 happened during an even number year in Ethiopia, while at the same time it was on an odd number on the Roman calendar. In other words, Ethiopia is first. And we have to understand that and remember that. So let's watch. Life itself.
For you to be born required you to have 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 16 great-great-grandparents. In fact, if you go back only 10 generations, it took 4,096 ancestors for you to be here watching this today. That's 4,096 people who struggled, survived, loved, fought, won, lost, cried, and cheered. Your ancestors would have faced unbelievable adversity, collapses of governments and countries, world wars, starvation, extreme poverty, nasty diseases that there was no cure for, and so much more. Yet here we are, complaining about how hard it is at a time where it has never been easier to be healthy, wealthy, and thrive. Imagine telling your great-great-grandfather how difficult your day was today. Your hardest day would be easier.
Because today is easier to figure out the truth of the past, even though they try to lie to us. So let's watch.
This from the world. Africans were present in South America 3,000 years ago. This is changing everything we know about our ancient past and who our ancestors really were. The Olmecs, who lived in present-day Mexico around 1200 BCE, the first civilization to create colossal stone heads, some weighing well over 20 tons. That's 20 small cars. They all depict faces with distinct African features. Columbus was not the first to contact the Americas. There was transoceanic contact or travel long before him. That's just the tip of the iceberg. The Olmecs, like many other civilizations during their time, had a profound understanding of astronomy and mathematics. They created one of the earliest known calendars and used a complex mathematical system that even predated the Maya. The Olmecs were also master engineers, even by today's standard. They built sophisticated drainage systems and used techniques we don't understand today to transport massive stones over great distances. Here's the next level of the iceberg. The artifacts found in Olmec sites are strange figurines and tools made from materials not native to the region. This proves an ancient, wide-reaching trade network. Some of these items connect to ancient cultures in Europe and Asia. The symbols and writing found on their artifacts are still undeciphered to this day, but they bear a striking resemblance to other ancient writings around.
It was written in Ge'ez. They know exactly what it was written in. It was written in Ethiopian language. Why? Because we just saw that life started in Zion, and Zion is Ethiopia.
Now, they clearly feature, the color version is easier to see, but they clearly feature 3 races. And it's depicting black and Indian allies and a battle against white invaders.
Exumites in early America. The Exumite people were Ethiopian people, or people who lived in East Africa. Between 1300 BC and AD 600, blacks from East Africa and Asia began settling in South America. Many African skulls have been found in Ecuador. The Exumites controlled much of Arabia, India, and parts of Southeast Asia when the Mochica Empire was in existence. We can hypothesize that a group of Ethiopian merchants, probably on voyage to China, Sri Lanka, or Malaysia, or on a military campaign to put down a rebellion in one of their Indian Ocean colonies, was captured by the equatorial countercurrent in their papyrus boats and carried to Peru, Ecuador. Exumites, they left a number of inscriptions throughout South America. One of the most interesting inscriptions is this inscription near the town of Palpa, some 20 kilometers northeast of Nazca. I know many of you have heard of the Nazca lines in Peru. Here we find an ancient inscription of lines that can be read in the Gies language of
Gies, Ethiopian language, because Ethiopians were first, and that's where we're all from, because it's said that we are all born in Zion.
Ethiopia. And the translation is as follows. Come carve, dig down into the earth, pacify, control, and increase the waters. Make them flow forth into the region, gaining grace and favor. Go out among the people, become strong leaders. These inscriptions were found at Cuenca. And among these artifacts is one, a gold sheet with a picture of a pyramid with Ethiopian letters at the foot of the pyramid. In addition, we find a stone tablet with Ethiopian writing placed before 3 animals and a stone pyramid.
If you don't know, Ethiopia built the first pyramid. That's where the pyramid started. And if you don't know, studies show that modern Europeans' genetic makeup only appear after 3000 BC. This means that prior to that date, there were no genetically modern Europeans on Earth. This also means that European can be the builders of any civilization that appeared before 3000 BC, since it didn't exist yet. And we all know that the Ethiopian civilization started 5,500 years of BC, so 2,000 years before Rome even existed. In other words, the world don't go back so far, so you better know where life started. Jagai.
Set my reflex control emotion. Them